Thank you, Jennifer. Now to coverage you'll only see just on the one and only. The process to pick Haiti's next president put on hold. Mistrust fueled by rumors of election fraud have drawn out the selection process, and now there are calls for the island's current president to step down. Local 10's Glenna Milberg is live from Haiti this morning with more. Good morning, Glenna.
Todd, Nikki, good morning. It increasingly looks like that may not happen before this mandated day of February 7th. But first, on this Sunday morning, I want to let you hear what we're hearing right now. Might be a little low. The church right across the street, there is some joyful noise there on this Sunday morning, a joyful noise of people praying. That is the Sunday morning standard operating procedure here in Port-au-Prince. Today, though, people were to be at the polls at 7 a.m. And of course, that didn't happen when the runoff election for president was postponed. That said, let me take you to one of those polling places in Pétionville, not too far from here. This is l'École Nationale. This is a school, a very big school that was to be a very big polling place. Potentially thousands of voters here, including Haiti's president, Michel Martelly, and one of the candidates, the number 2 candidate who actually was going to boycott this runoff, Jude Celestine. This was their polling place as well. Instead, you can see empty on this Sunday morning and closed as a polling place. The election was officially canceled on Friday afternoon because of all the protests during the week. The Electoral Council so afraid that violence, and some violence actually at the polling places and torching of polling places, would be much too dangerous for an election, essentially handing protesters what they wanted. They wanted the canceled election. The protests continue this weekend because now the protesters want even more. Martelly has to go. That's the new demand for the protests. Burning tires, hurling rocks, all that continued even after the violence became the reason the Election Council canceled the presidential runoff. Is that empowering that technique to continue?
Absolutely.
It's time for the president and the prime minister to get out of the country before the 7th of February.
The call to the streets came from this radio broadcast. At the table, several losing presidential candidates, now part of the patchwork of opposition, insisting the elections were rigged in favor of President Michel Martelly's candidate. The protests are organized as the voice of the people. The violence that goes with it at times is not condoned by the organizers. The fresh round of protests spilled through the streets of Port-au-Prince as the international community and United Nations Secretary General urged all sides to compromise on a plan and a speedy reset to the runoff. And the international community is again weighing in on what are closed-door meetings as the stakeholders involved try to move this needle, try to figure out how to get some sort of free and fair elections done, and not only respond to the protesters, but respond to people who may not be as loud and violent, who actually support the Martelly government, who are very in favor of what this administration has been doing to build Haiti and take it forward. And then there is the other side who feels that it is a corrupt and fraudulent government. That is what's going on as we speak. We are hearing there are more protests planned this afternoon. Meanwhile, as you listen to church services here in Port-au-Prince this morning, no one really knows what this day is going to bring as far as any election will go. I'm Glenna Milberg, live in Port-au-Prince this morning, Local 10 News.